Your father was a computer scientist. Your mother was a musician. When the spaceship lands, how do they communicate?
That's a very good question. I like that. You've answered the question.
They make music on their computers, and they are able to speak to each other.
And you see, I'd love to say, you know, I intended that, and I realized that was my mother and father, but not until this moment.
Cobbler's children have no shoes. I wanted to do something a little bit different in today's video. I want to talk a little more off the cuff. The feedback that I got for the first couple of videos that I've uploaded were universally, oh, it was really interesting. It was really long. And at 2 hours, I can't disagree with that assessment. And I've realized, especially recently, that I think I have things to say which don't need to be in essay format. So I don't like the word vlogging, but I think I'll come up with a word for a series, a title for a series that I'm going to do here, which is just me talking to you about things that are going on with me or things that I'm thinking about. And I've decided to focus each one of these on a specific idea. And for today, it's the cobbler's children have no shoes. So you've heard the phrase, maybe you've even thought about it a bit, but I wanted to think a little more deeply about it and talk about what it means to me as a creative person, as a contractor, as a creative director, and in my day job. The cobbler's children have no shoes. If you're not familiar with it, is the idea that someone like a cobbler, someone who makes shoes, tends to be or is stereotypically not very attentive to their own needs when it comes to their profession. So carpenters live in dilapidated houses, lawyers get into legal trouble, dentists have bad teeth. One of the stereotypes is that cardiologists very often smoke and eat fatty foods. And there are many competing explanations for why this is the case. In the case of a cardiac surgeon, for example, maybe the argument could be made that there's an assertion of individuality or independence from the body, from the physical reality of one's own life. Some would say a death drive in some cases. I think that is probably something that's real, especially in fields like medicine. As a creative professional, as a writer, as someone who's worked in marketing, someone who's worked in investments, I feel the phrase is often applicable to me. I have advised hundreds of people especially on creative questions, communication questions, and much of the advice that I give, I often find difficult, not always, but I often find difficult to follow. The phrase, those who can't do teach. I think that maybe that's for a separate video, but I think there's some justice in that phrase. But I think what's interesting to me is that the qualities that make someone a good teacher or a good advisor are very often the qualities that make them bad at executing things on their own. So the ability to communicate an idea, the ability to encapsulate it and provide it to someone in a digestible way, or to listen and to be empathetic to someone and their problems, are different from the abilities necessary to do the things that you're talking about. So very often it's true that people who are very good at teaching something are not always the best at actually doing it. And I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I know for me, I've often found it difficult. I think I've improved over recent years. I've often found it difficult to focus on my own creative endeavors, for the very reasons that I'm good at helping others with their creative endeavors. Why that is, I mean, that's something that maybe takes years of therapy to try to untangle. But maybe it has to do with being the type of person that wants to please other people, that wants to see other people succeed, that derives enjoyment from seeing other people learn and grow. But recently, a few things happened. I'd been working on this channel for a while. I'd been doing a number of creative projects, a number of paid projects, writing, advising a startup, having my day job as a creative director in a software company. And as you may have noticed, the economy is in a weird place right now, and investors sort of across the board, especially in technology, are pulling back money. And this happened, and it sort of happened all at once, so that all the projects and all the things that I've been working on sort of evaporated. I was laid off. There was no more money for new creative stuff. So I find myself in a position where I don't have the opportunity to do those things. So I wanted to dive in a little bit more minutely into the idea of the cobbler's children having no shoes, and what makes it difficult for people like me, people who advise creatively, to actually be creative themselves, and how we can possibly overcome that. So one of the things that I learned working with early stage startups was that we say that more is lost from indecision than from wrong decision. I put it a different way. I would say that especially when it comes to startups, startups fail because they don't make decisions. They don't fail because they make the wrong decisions. That's practically the same thing, but I think it when it's attached to the concept of failure, somehow it's more applicable to a business. But how do we overcome the fear? The fear that drives indecision. The fear that you'll make the wrong decision. One of the things that I advise people is just to make smaller decisions. Don't decide I'm going to go to this market or that market, or I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that, but instead just decide, okay, I need to learn about this or that. Set myself a goal of learning about it, and then set myself a goal of investigating or taking the first step. If someone wants to become a doctor, I don't say, have your goal be becoming a doctor. Instead, have your goal be find out what kind of education you need, or talk to a doctor, or talk to an educational advisor, or talk to a school. Do the little things. Very often that is talking to someone. Do the little things that will get you in the direction of making those decisions. And the decisions, at the end of the day, if you've nibbled away at them, If you get 20% of the decision done just by investigating it, then the remaining 80% isn't as big, and then you can chop up that 80% into smaller decisions as well. So this is something that I advise people. It's something that I've become good at doing, especially when it comes to my music. Now I'm able to, instead of thinking about making an album or thinking even about making a piece, I'll just think about making a sound, or I'll think about expressing a singular idea, or I'll be listening to something and I'll think that's a good, I want to explore that sound. I want to explore that musical idea a little bit more. And then very often the work presents itself in the process of discovery. So this is something that I think I've become good at music, and I think I've been failing to do in especially my professional life. And I'll sort of explain why. It's 5-6 years ago, I decided with my wife to start a business. It was a retail business. We opened in, it must have been 2018, and we invested a lot into it, especially not only money but time and energy. And we made lots of mistakes, but we also were catching on, I would say. And the Christmas season of 2019 to 2020 was of course Christmas season. We did well, and then February came, March came, and was March 2020, and the COVID lockdowns started. And despite the fact that our landlord was very generous and cut down the rent, the utilities companies were helpful, the government was helpful, but we saw that this was going to go on for a long time, so we decided to pull back, and we did. And that was the financial aspect of it was painful, but the psychic damage was somehow worse. The fear of failure is can be crippling, but the actuality of failure is beyond painful. It's a wound, and it's a wound that takes time to heal, and you have to leave it alone. And I took steps to try to do that. I started going to therapy. I started, doing things to take care of myself. I thankfully had a job to walk into, and since then, I would say I've been unsure of what my future looks like. Going back into the job market, I realized that the things that I'd done as a job now seemed to me to be more commodified, more mercenary in a way, especially in the field of software and marketing. The business cycle turns, from a creative phase, a phase where companies are exploring new ideas and there's lots of excitement around new technologies, and investors are excited and willing to take risks, to a more conservative, investors are looking for profits and companies are looking for performance, and they're looking to increase profit. And when the cycle turns around like that, from the beginning of my career, that was the beginning of the mobile revolution. There was a lot of experimentation. Towards the end of my career, the most recent end of my career, it had turned more into a commodified space, and that's perfectly natural. And there will be another cycle. There will be another area of technology or business that is more welcoming to creative ideas, but that will take time to appear. And and it led me to realize that one of the things that I'd valued the most in my career was the opportunities that I had to help people individually. Let's call it emotional labor, to invest time in making sure that people are making the right decisions for themselves, that they're thinking about the right priorities for themselves. And that's led me to the conclusion that I should probably move into a field that's more explicitly about that, about emotional labor. So I've decided that I'd like to study psychology, and I'd like to become a practicing psychotherapist in private practice. So that's a big decision, and I did take my own advice to an extent, which is I said, okay, break that up into smaller pieces. What does that mean? One of the things that it means is that I need to get into a school. I need to do another undergraduate degree, unfortunately, because my previous degree is in music and English, so it's not good enough for a master's program in psychology, psychotherapy. So I need to get another bachelor's degree, which is a year and a half more of study. And in order to do that, I need to get into a school. In order to do that, I need to take entrance exams and scholarship tests, and that entails going back to college math, algebra, and basic trigonometry, calculus. So I've been studying thanks to Khan Academy, not a sponsor, but I really recommend it. And I've been sitting down and studying. One of the things I haven't been doing is putting out my own thoughts. So when I started this channel, I wanted to have a place where I could express my ideas, and somewhere in the process, I turned that into this vast repository for ideas, very structured and very expansive and ambitious. And I've realized recently that I don't need to do that. I can do that, but I don't need to do that. I don't need to be a Dan Olson from the get-go. I can get there in my own way. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make smaller decisions. If we were to come back to the theme, why are the Cobbler's children barefoot? Very often the reason is because the cobbler feels or experiences the effect that their work is commodified, that every hour that they spend making shoes, every piece of material that they put into a pair of shoes can be sold, and so it has a price. And when it has a price and they have commitments and bills to pay and a business to run, they don't want to invest their time and their materials and their energy into things that don't directly pay for those things. And I'm sort of in the position where no one is buying my shoes, so I can look inward and spend some of my energy on myself, whether that means promoting my own music or creating my own writing projects or my own video projects. I'm not sure yet. Certainly it means studying and trying to move in a new professional direction. But I think that there's also a place for me to do, essentially a vlog. Again, I hate that word. So that's what I'm going to try to do from now on. And I don't say that I'm just going to do videos like this, but I'm going to do more videos like this, I hope. And in doing that, again, get used to this as a means of interaction, get used to sharing my ideas in this format, because I do think there's a lot of value to it. I find a lot of value from watching people think through things, watching people learn, watching people create. So I want to give others the opportunity to do the same, and to have a conversation with you if you would like. So I said that I would keep it short, so I'm going to stop there at almost 20 minutes. Thank you. This is Lloyd. This is Nothing is Simple, because nothing is. Until next time.